guys, and welcome to Top Channel 101. Today we're going to be making this text animation using Blender. There are not a lot of tutorials about text animation in Blender, but yeah, let me show you how to do something like this. Add the text object. To animate this very easily, you have to rig this text. So I can add armature, align the bones. So you want to create a bone per character like this, and then you have to convert the text into a mesh. So mesh, and then you have to parent the text to the armature using Ctrl P, but use with empty weights because we want to paint the weights ourselves. So do that and select the armature and then the character, and then you can go to weight paint. This is going to allow you to select to weight paint with the option to select the bones. So I'm going to start with the T and just make sure the weight is set to 1 and the strength is set to 1, and make sure that the entire T is parented to the first armature. Now you can see that if I rotate this, the T is going with it. You want to make sure that only the T is affected, and now we can go to the next one, and you can see that some of the E is controlled by this, but not all of it. So I need to make sure that everything is red on the E. If I get any other letter painted, I can remove it by just first moving the letter to make sure that everything is painted correctly. Subtract whatever painted this side, and I think this bone here is partly influencing this, so I'm also going to remove that influence there and make sure that only the X is affected by this bone. If I get this, you can see this is affecting that, and this is affecting that, which is great. You can give the text thickness by using the solidify modifier. You can also add a bevel if you want, but sometimes you might see that the bevel doesn't work. If it's not working, just go under the geometry and turn on clamp overlay and just reduce the bevel until you get the size you want. You can see when I'm rotating this, you see it's getting this jittery effect. The thing that is causing that is the order of my modifiers. You need to make sure that the armature is below everything else, and now you can see that everything should work as expected. I can use Alt R, Alt G to reset the positions, just like that. When it comes to animating text, all you have to do is animate the first character the way you want. For example, I want this to be the final position, so I'll add a keyframe, a rotation and location keyframe, and then frame 1, I can rotate this and maybe scale it down. If I play back, you can see it rises up. Now you can repeat the animation for all the characters, but you can see how tedious it can become, and I guess this is why Blender hasn't really taken off as a motion graphics animation tool, because some of the tasks are really hard to do because you have to do everything manually. So I have to keyframe all of these manually. So I do this, rotate this and shrink, and now we get that. It's just too much work. So if it's just a few letters, then it's not a problem. You can do that. But I'm going to be using my own add-on that sets up everything for me. For example, let's say a text hello, and just create text with automatic rigging. So if I do that, just like that, with all the rigging handled for me, I can start animating the letter. And the great thing about this is that I only have to animate one character, and then I can copy the keyframes directly to the other letters. So I can set a keyframe here, rotate this and maybe scale it down. So let me rotate it even more. And if I want to copy the animation, I just select everything and copy, use text motion to copy exact, and I can copy over the animation to all the letters just like that. The other thing I can do is you can see in my animation here, each letter comes in one by one. So I can easily do that by just doing an offset. Maybe let me offset the keyframes by 5 frames. So come here, offset, and you can see what we're getting. So we're getting one letter at a time. I can speed this up. Let me first clear the offset so that I can change. And let me first increase the speed, and now bring back the offset. Perfect. Now let me show you some of the other techniques I used here in this animation. I wanted to have a Django theme. I added these roots. These are simple things you can do, and this is just a curve. So I have a curve a basic curve, and I created a profile out of a few circles like that, and I used it as the profile in the curve. So if you go to the bevel, you can select any curve as the profile, and you have something like that. And then I just twisted some of these. So with the twist option or the tilt option, if I select the first node here, I can turn on proportional editing and make sure that I'm using smooth, only connected, and I can rotate the first one and increase the influence, and you can see that I can easily create something like that with a lot of twists. If I want to edit the curves, I just have to come in here and I just change their radius, and now I have a basic root. I can use Alt S to shrink the tips, and now I just need a material for this, and I would have something like that. I can even use the normal of the geometry, separate the Z component, and add some dust at the top of the roots. So I can use a mix color. Just showing you several techniques you can use to create something that looks amazing. So I can use an image texture of a tree bark. I'm just going to use this for the tree. This can be the roots. Now I need a texture for dust or green stuff that can grow here. I can use this, and I can even use some contrast using a color ramp to give this a little bit more contrast. And I have some basic root. I can use this in the roughness with a math node to reduce the roughness, and I can also use this as a bump. You're basically layering different effects on top of each other to get something that looks cool. So yeah, this is my root, and so I have a root like that. If you look here, you can see that my roots are rotating a bit. You can easily create that type of rotation by setting up some keyframes. Remember, this is still a curve, and it's still editable. So I can come in here in the shape keys, set up the basis, and then set up another keyframe, another key, and come in here, turn on, make sure that I'm using the tilt. Again, turn on proportional editing, and I'll rotate this with proportional editing on, just like that. So when I animate this value, you can see what I get. I get that basic animation. So I can set a keyframe there and set another one here. And you can, again, layer more animations here. On top of this, you can even, if I subdivide this, let me turn off proportion editing. I can, while I'm still on the Q1, I can move this around, and you can see what I'm getting. I'm basically getting roots that are rotating, tilting, and moving around. Because I'm using Eevee, I wanted to have some good rays like this, but Eevee lights don't support. I'll show you here. If I was in cycles, let me grab a new project here, and I had a cube which was a volume. Let me use volume scatter and a density of 5. If I had, say, on spotlights like this, let me first increase the angle and the cone size. I can add shadows in this by setting the use nodes, and you can add any texture into this. So I can use an image texture and grab something like this, connect it in the strength, and you can see that I get these rays very easily, and I can even use color ramp in this to make them high contrast. But in Eevee, it does not work. So my solution, because I really needed those, let me change the display of this to wire. My solution to that was to add a plane to block any light. So you can see that all the light is being blocked. I can subdivide it several times, and I can set up some geometry nodes with an image. So if I bring in an image texture, let's say this, I can use the delete node. Connect the image as the selector, and use the compare node to delete any faces depending on the luminosity of the image. So here, if I just take a look at this, I can tell the greater than. So all the dark pixel, all the white pixels are going to be deleted. I can even, you can see that this image is tiling. If I don't want that, I can use the position as the coordinates, and I can use the vector math, change this to scale this up or scale it down. That way I can control where, which parts I want to delete or remove the tiling. I can even use a math node with the operation add to move this around in case I want to do that. And this greater than creates a selection for me, and that leaves me with something like this. And I can control what parts of the mesh are kept, and I can change this to faces so that only faces are removed. And now you can see that I easily get those gold rays. So that's how I achieved that. The other thing you might want to look at here is I used a particle system to emit these flowers. They're all emitted at the first frame with a lifetime of the length of the timeline. Yeah, basically that's how I set up this whole animation. So the plants I used in this project are from Botanic, and yeah, if you want to get my add-on textMograph, you can find it in the description. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.